Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dean's Chat, where we discuss all things podiatric medicine. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Jensen. I'm the Dean at the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine and the host for this show. As promised, we want to bring the voices of leaders in our profession, and we certainly live up to that today. I wanted to welcome Dr. John Steinberg to Dean's Chat.
Thanks, Jeff. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. You know, in going along with the Dean's Chat, fireside chat kind of theme, let's just go by first names, John and Jeff. I think that probably is the best way to go.
Absolutely.
Hey, before we start talking, I wanted to just do a little more introduction about you and your career. So just give me about 45 seconds or a minute. I want to just talk about some of the things you've done, and then we'll get into discussion, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Dr. John Steinberg is a professor and full-time faculty member in the Department of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery at Georgetown University School of Medicine. He is co-founder of the Center for Wound Healing at MedStar Georgetown University Hospital. He's also the Residency Director for the MedStar Health Podiatric Surgical Residency Program. He is a past president of the American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons. He's board certified by the American Board of Foot and Ankle Surgery. Dr. Steinberg earned his BS degree in biology and his DPM degree from Baylor University School of Podiatric Medicine. Following his graduation from Podiatry School, he did a 3-year surgical training program at Inova Fairfax Residency Program and followed that up with a year of fellowship at the University of Texas, San Antonio. So welcome again, John. And what I wanted to start off with is, we do a lot of recruitment of students across the colleges, and usually we see 3 types of students. One is somebody who's knows a podiatrist and was treated by a podiatrist, or perhaps their family members were treated by a podiatrist. There's another group that found podiatry through shadowing and in whatever experience it was. But then there's another group that are, it's kind of part of their family, like you. You're a 3rd-generation podiatrist. Would you mind spending a few minutes telling us about podiatry and your family and how it's evolved over the years? And my understanding is we might even have another Steinberg going into podiatric medicine.
The more the merrier. Jeff, thanks again. Congrats on your successful show, and appreciate the invite. Listened to several episodes and really enjoy the tone of this. So I'll try to make this another successful episode, hopefully, since we have something to do with this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Steinberg family has some great roots in podiatry, helping people take better footsteps, hopefully. My father, Lloyd Steinberg, practiced podiatry in Ocala, Florida. And that's where I was exposed to this great profession as, I think, a 6th or 7th grader who used to walk over after middle school and spend the afternoon at the front desk and the back office. I did everything that a 7th grader could do in my dad's podiatric office in Ocala, Florida, and just loved it. I was like, wow, this is a neat mix of medicine and surgery and making people walk out better than they walked in. I really enjoyed it and saw the merits of it from early on. And my dad, Lloyd, learned his interest in the profession through his father, Marvin Steinberg, who practiced in Washington Heights, New York. And matter of fact, my grandfather, Marvin, is credited with some really neat titles that are way beyond what I could ever achieve. But he's been labeled by many as the father of modern podiatric medicine, really helping podiatry evolve into a medical subspecialty and helping us recognize the potential of what we can see and do through someone's lower extremity and the impact we can make on their healthcare, being a physician rather than more of a trade profession. So really a neat history there. And another bit of trivia is my grandfather, Marvin, started the first hospital-based residency program for podiatric medicine and surgery. So that was at Jewish Memorial Hospital in New York City. So my brother, Paul Steinberg, carries on the family tradition at my dad's practice still in Florida. And as you said, I'm hopeful that 1 or 2 of my children who are just entering college have expressed strong interest in medicine and particularly to podiatry. So looking forward to continuing the Steinberg family with DPMs.
That's great. I did not realize your grandfather started the first hospital-based residency program.
Yeah, but before that, residencies were just in someone's office or at a surgical center, but they weren't in accredited, true hospital settings. So really, really neat piece of history there.
So not only is podiatric medicine in your blood, but education's in your blood.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can give my mom some credit for that too. She taught geography in college for 30 years. So there was a lot of teaching going on in our house.
Well, there you go. So you ended up at Barry University School of Podiatric Medicine, and now you're on the board of trustees.
Correct. That's a recent addition. I think I'm probably a year and a half into that now. Got a great phone call during the pandemic from the relatively new president of the university, who had reached out and said that they recently had their DPM representative graduate off of the university board of trustees, and was curious if I was interested in that. And I was really honored to be called, and hopefully have been able to contribute in some ways. And Barry's still near and dear to my heart as my alma mater for both my undergraduate and my doctorate degrees. And it's been a neat experience to see how a university works from the inside. I know a lot about podiatric medical schools, but I didn't know a lot about universities. And boy, there's a lot there. It's complicated, but overall, been a great experience.
That's great. I also wanted to mention, since I was down in Miami for 7 years, your family has been very generous, very philanthropic, endowed scholarships, and on behalf of the entire profession, thank you to the Steinberg family for that.
Well, these opportunities don't happen by accident, and this profession's been wonderful to me and my family, and I feel strongly to make sure that we continue that, and where we can help someone. We know how expensive this is. We know what a burden this can be, and if there's ways that we can attract folks who might not have wanted otherwise to have been able to do it, or help those who are already committed to have less of a debt, then absolutely, I share that with you for sure, Jeff. Thank you.
That's great. I wanted to talk to you about your residency training and your experience as a student when you started thinking about where you wanted to do your residency. Can you comment on your Inova experience for 3 years?
Well, there's some more family stuff there too, Jeff. It's going to make you chuckle. But my cousin, the Livingston family, has they're cousins of ours, and there are 3 DPMs in their family. They're based out of Long Island. And my cousin, Mike Livingston, was just finishing at that time it was called the Northern Virginia Podiatric Residency Program. It's now the Inova program. He was just finishing, and I was just finishing Podiatric Medical School in Miami. And he's like, John, you got to come up and see this program. It's amazing and high surgical volume. And if you want to be a surgeon, this is where you got to come to. And I was like, okay, I had planned on doing everything in Florida, but this sounds like it's worth a trip up. And I was able to see and experience the program, and fortunately was able to be selected for a residency slot there. So yeah, Inova was a tremendous experience, and taught me a lot of what I look to do as a residency director now, and realize those important aspects of creating the opportunity for residents to be able to succeed. This stuff isn't by accident. We've got to have the connections. We've got to have the access to the rotations, and you have to have access to the case volume. As program director, I'm constantly seeking ways to make sure that I can deliver the appropriate volume to our residents, because they entrust us with that. They've come here, they've been selected for the program, and my job is to make sure that the table is set for them to succeed. So. Oh,
no doubt. We'll talk. I'd like to ask you more questions about that in a bit. But first, I was curious about your connections for. Probably was a tremendous opportunity for you to do a fellowship at the University of Texas, San Antonio.
You know, if you were to ask me what was the favorite part of my podiatric education so far, I would have to say my externships of my 4th year. I absolutely loved being a clerkship student. And man, if you loved a place, it was spectacular because you were there for a month. If you didn't love a place, it was great because you were leaving in a few weeks. It was just, I loved the 1 month rotations as a clerkship. I went all over the country. I loaded up the car and just hit the road. I was in Georgia for 2 programs. I was up in Seattle, Washington. I was in San Antonio. I was in Pittsburgh. I was everywhere for programs. And it was my chance to just go out and see everything, and whatever names I had read about in school, I wanted to go and see and meet these folks. And I was thrilled that I did that. One of those names that I had always read so much about and was curious about was Lawrence Harkless, David Armstrong, and Larry Lavery. And as an extern at San Antonio, having spent a month there, I knew that excitement and that energy that they created on a health science campus, which at that time was fairly unique in podiatric medicine. We weren't on a lot of health science campuses. And to see how amazing that felt to be part of a med school and the true curriculum and being truly integrated was the first time I really saw that as a podiatry student, to see what could be accomplished when we had parity. And I remembered that through residency. And when it came time to finish up residency, I was like, wow, I still have a chance to go spend some time with those folks. I'll go do it as a fellow. So that was my decision I desperately wanted to spend some more time in that environment with Harkless, Armstrong, and Lavery at the time. So.
What a phenomenal opportunity.
Yeah, it was a game changer for me because I had we talked about my family background. My plan was pretty well laid out. I had thought of this since I was 13 when I decided I want to be a podiatrist, was that I'm going to get through school as quick as I can. And I'm going to come back to Ocala and take over my dad's practice. And even after that, the story got even better because my brother Paul decided to go into podiatry as well. So it's like, okay, we'll be together. We'll both take over dad's practice. But when I did that fellowship, the whole game changed. And I realized that I loved education and that I loved teaching and I wanted to be on a big campus. And I couldn't do that in Ocala, where I really wouldn't have access to podiatric medical students and residents. So that was the reason why I ended up going the academic route and stayed at UT to practice for a while and ultimately ended up at Georgetown. So my fellowship completely changed the trajectory of my career. I was pre-planned. Matter of fact, if you want a fireside chat type topic, my dad literally had already made up, and he still hangs on the barn of our horse farm in Ocala. He had made up the sign, the wood insert of my name to go into the sign in the front of his office. John Steinberg, DPM, was already made to go. I was going to go join that practice. It was predetermined. So
it's amazing where life takes us. So, your father obviously was so influential, and your grandfather. You had mentioned a couple mentors, Dr. Harkless. Can you say a couple more words? Because the common theme I see with leaders in the profession is somebody has to teach you how to be successful, and somebody has to teach you how you function in not only in being a doctor, but politically within the profession, being a residency director. Can you comment more on your mentors?
I'll open up with some advice that I give to my residents and any students that rotate through is that mentorship doesn't happen by accident. You have to go out and seek it. And fortunately, that was told to me early on, and I followed that advice and I sought out that mentorship because mentors love to mentor, but if they don't get asked, they don't know that you're willing. So don't be afraid if someone motivates you and you see yourself being part of conducting yourself part of the way someone conducts themselves. Tell them that, and they'll be honored by the compliment, and they'll probably want to know ways that they can help you develop that skill set. So mentorship is purposeful, and I am so lucky to have had the mentors that I had. In particular, fellowship mentorship that we talked about already. It doesn't get better than Larry Harkless. I mean, that guy, there's no way to beat him into work, and there's no way to outwork him at the end of the day. His hours are just amazing. His dedication and his skill set and his people skills, knowledges were just spectacular. There's no one that he walks up to at a conference that he doesn't know their name and their mother's name and where they went to school and what their favorite sport is. It's just amazing. And then through residency, I'm fortunate to this day to work with an amazing mentor of mine is Christopher Attinger, who's a plastic surgeon who has dedicated his practice to limb salvage. Chris and I got very close when I was an ANOVA resident and rotated at Georgetown and had time and experience with him in the operating room and really caught that early passion for limb salvage and diabetes-related aspect of our profession. And Chris and I kept in touch through my rest of my residency and fellowship. And then he said, why don't you go out there and work for a few years, and then I'm going to find a way to have Georgetown hire its first podiatrist. And sure enough, it was almost 5 years to the date that he called me up and said, I got a spot for you. Why don't you come back to DC? So those mentorships not only are paramount to shaping me into who I am today, but also have really guided my career. Mentors will open doors for you. So I couldn't emphasize that enough to folks on the audience here that go seek that mentorship. It's crucial.
Oh, I agree. I sometimes tell a story about when I became the dean at Barry. I asked Dr. Irv Cannett for some advice professionally, and he sent me a 6-page single-spaced letter. And so
he was just waiting for you to ask.
That's exactly right. You're exactly right. Hey, let's talk about your residency program. How long have you been at Georgetown now, John?
So I got invited here as faculty at Georgetown 2004. Okay. So almost 20 years now. And in 2012, So 8 years after I had started is when I was invited to a neighboring hospital of the same system. It's all under the umbrella of MedStar Health, a neighboring hospital called Washington Hospital Center, which is actually where I'm speaking to you from today, actually, because they needed a podiatric residency director. And that kind of came out of the blue. We had always welcomed and invited residents from other programs to rotate with us at Georgetown. I had never thought that I would have an opportunity to be a program director, and that kind of happened overnight. And it's become the favorite part of my job. I absolutely positively get so much reward, and I think it's the area where I can make the biggest impact in guiding those careers and setting the table, as we talked about. So, residency director since 2012.
So it's 10, 11 years now. That's a lot of influence you've had on practitioners in our field, John.
Oh, it's so fun. It's one of those, I know it's so cliche, but I get so much more out of it than I put in. It is so rewarding. And I can't tell you how, that family fatherly instinct kicks in when we gather the alumni of our program now for MedStar. We have just over 100 alumni now from this residency program, which is a 30-year-old program. But with over 100 alumni, when we get together at ACFAS or other meetings, we're 50, 60 people in the room. And when we go and pass that mic around and listen to what people are doing and what their impact is, it's emotional for me, because it's like, wow, look at what this family is doing and look what we have potentiated, hopefully. So yeah, you're right. It does kick in that kind of proud father type instinct.
Oh, that's great. So we always appreciate it when you accept our students from Arizona to come out and rotate. What are you looking for when a student comes out and they're a clerk at MedStar? There's so many residents, and the students have such opportunities to connect and learn. What are you looking for when clerks come out for ultimately becoming a resident at MedStar?
We cast a wide net. I'm looking for all of them. I want some rock stars, but I want them mixed in with some folks whose potential hasn't been tapped yet, and some folks who really need some polishing and maybe wouldn't be expected to even have a chance here at first. So I like them all. I would tell you that folks coming from schools like yours, Midwestern and Western, and some of the schools that have really incorporated themselves into allopathic medicine, and the students that come with such a strong medical background from the emerging growth in our podiatric education, they have a leg up here for sure, because we do so much medicine here, and they're going to be on the wards with our interns, and the interns here do so much medicine, which is something, when I look back at it in my career of education, that's probably my weakest. I got so much education for surgery, and I know how to do procedure-oriented medicine so well. But if I look back at it now, one of my proudest parts of our program and our residency is our interns really do an internship. Matter of fact, we were just next door mapping out our schedule for next year and increasing even more time in SICU and more time in medicine. It's such an amazing medical foundation. If we're going to claim to be a medical subspecialty, we had better be able to speak that language and be comfortable in any corner of the hospital. So that's where that first year internship is so crucial. And we do a full year of medicine, and then we're going to get you your procedures your second and third year here. So I think those students, particularly when we talk about Midwestern folks who have that, they've been shoulder to shoulder with the DO students from day one in school. They have a little leg up because their medicine is above average. So.
Well, thank you. And I agree with you. I'm so proud of our students, because they, when they go into the basic sciences, there's 290 of them, our 40, and then 250 DOs. And the professors don't know if they're DO students or podiatry students, and our students compete so well. I'm so proud of them.
Yeah.
So thank you for those comments.
Sure.
Another question for you. So when your residents are finishing their second year or into their third year, what's your stance on fellowships? Are you encouraging your residents to do fellowships? And what type of fellowships are you sending them off to?
Yeah, by no means, of course, do I require it or look down on anyone who chooses not to do a fellowship. But it is highly encouraged based on the type of candidate we're selecting for this program. We really want to be a program that's helping develop the future of this profession academically, folks that are motivated to be at schools or academic environments at some point that want to research and be cutting edge as far as presenting at professional society meetings. So we actually just ran the numbers, and in the past 5 years at our program, it's just shy of 80% of our graduates have done fellowships.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we are very highly fellowship driven. And I just think that's such a perfect way to polish off the experience here at MedStar, is to go and, if you want to be the TIR person, then let's hook you up with a TIR fellowship, and you're just going to do an incredible quantity of cases. If you want to be the Shark or Recon person, let's get you to that program. I love that ability to kind of polish off those areas. If no one, residency is a fairly homogenous experience, but no one ends up with the exact same experience, nor have I ever met a residency graduate, including myself, who feels like they did enough cases. We always want more, right? That's a healthy emotion. We should want more. The reality is you're probably just fine where you're at, but I love that ability to have one more year to, you know what, I really want to focus on these type of cases that I want more trauma. I want more ankle fusions. Let's go get that for you through fellowship. And I love that opportunity. Again, it was such a game changer for my profession. It's probably one of the reasons I'm biased towards feeling like I really want my residents to do it as well, because it really helped me see what I truly want to do with the profession.
I commend you for that, because as you know, there's a very small window of opportunity when a resident has an opportunity to say, I'm going to do a fellowship and then get selected. You only get one chance at it, because if you get into practice and you start a family, it's hard to go back and get that training.
It's very true. And it's a bit of a messy process. Even residency selection, of course, is fairly messy through the match, and there is no match for fellowship. So it's very haphazard, but it works. It's one of those areas where actually I do kind of enjoy the fact, again, talking about flashing back to mentorship and such, all those connections that I have developed and the rest of my faculty have developed here over the years. That's where you can pick up the phone and talk to the fellowship director, who happens to be your prior mentor, who can now open the door for your graduates. So it's a lot of high touch process to get a fellowship. It's very much about who you know, because thankfully our profession graduates a pretty good product consistently. So folks know that coming out of residency, that you're going to be able to do surgery, but they want to know who they can really work with intensely for a year, and that's where they lean on the program directors to give them that referral. So.
You know, at the same time, it kind of same thing happens in the schools, as you know. Yeah. You know, we talk about students and trying to get the right fit for the right student for the right program takes some effort sometimes.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a dance, but somehow it all works out. I know it's a highly anxiety-driven process for both sides, and especially the students and residents. But it all works out. You're gonna end up where you should end up at, and with very rare fail. The process works.
Absolutely. Before I move on to other topics, I wanted to ask you about your leadership style. I don't know if you've thought about that and put it in a box or whatever, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I very much work under. I'm not a disciplinarian. I don't like to bring people in my office and scream at them. I think in general, our profession and our approach to education has really matured to where that we don't teach by intimidation anymore. But my real emotion that I try to create in our program and among students and residents is I really would hope that they see my dedication to their education, and they see that we've worked hard to set the table. And the motion that I'm looking to create is for them to have a strong desire to not disappoint. If they're worried about disappointing us, then they're going to be motivated to do the right thing. So not from a sake of I'm going to get in trouble for this, but just I don't want to let Steinberg and the team down. That's what I kind of like to create is really that team approach, and that they know they have to pull their weight in order for us all to be successful.
Sounds like a very healthy environment for learning.
It is, and it feels good, and I enjoy it. I want the environment that I would flourish in. I am not a hardcore teach by intimidation kind of person. It would make me uncomfortable to do it, right, much less be on the receiving end of it. So. Yeah,
you don't have your personality does not lend itself towards that. So
yeah.
I agree. As if you're not busy enough, you've given a lot back to the profession, and I wanted to touch base on your role in the American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons that culminated in your presidency a few years back.
Oh, I love that. ACFAS has been such a great workhorse organization, and I've done volunteer work with most of our professional societies and enjoy and appreciate what they each bring to the table. but I was really drawn to ACFAS because of the organization being more nimble and more task oriented. I really loved we've all been on our share of conference calls and committee meetings where it's more just kind of humdrum and we're just talking for the sake of talking. I love the tone that a lot of those calls for ACFAS were, hey, we've got a task to get done. Let's figure out how to do this and let's check the box and move on to the next task. And I was really fortunate to work my way through to eventually be a committee chair and be asked to apply for the board. And it was a great run. I really like the welcoming flair. It's not about, you don't have to be super gray haired to get into that room. It's a fairly young organization that's interested in bringing up new volunteers quickly. And I've been very pleased with the way ACFAS does business. And it was an easy group to be a part of because it was so welcoming. I really enjoyed it.
Well, it certainly has been a leading educational component of our profession. There's no meeting I'd rather go to every February than the American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons meeting.
I agree. That's where I go to learn the new techniques and get updated and reconnect with colleagues. It's not an optional meeting. It's a really where if you want to be current in the profession, you got to be going to that one every year. I couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you for your leadership. ACFAS has just been instrumental in my career also, and thank you for taking the mantle of president for a year.
Thank you. I loved it. It really, again, it's a well-run group that it's one of those boards that's kind of the right size. Sometimes boards are too big and they're clumsy, and by the time you go around for everyone to speak, there's no time left to actually do something. It's done the right way. I like their style.
I do too. So I wanted to ask you about the big meeting, diabetic limb salvage. Your mentor, Dr. Addinger, and you are co-chairs, correct?
We are, yeah.
How did you get involved in that?
Man, we started that in 2007, and again, my mentorship in San Antonio, we would run a meeting called the Diabetic Foot Update. Larry Harkless and others had started that long ago, and the Diabetic Foot Update had kind of stumbled for years and wasn't super well attended, and I think we even skipped a couple of years. So there was kind of a void and a need for that, and we took the ball and ran with it because it was something where Chris Addinger had never really had an opportunity he had helped a lot of others succeed, but had never kind of built his own project as far as a meeting. And once we started doing it, we saw how great the need was, and we made it very international, and we have kept it very, very multidisciplinary, from non-physician providers to every specialty within the physician providers and surgeons. Been a lot of fun, and we've gotten to really recruit talent from around the world and show folks that, hey, okay, we got a lot of great ways of doing things here, and in many areas the U.S. is on top of the ball game, but there's a lot of areas where we're not, and let's bring those folks in to share with us how they do it in Italy and UK and Australia, and let's figure that out. So,
I'll be out there next week, so I'll see you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I look forward to it. So two-part question. One, what do you think the future of our profession, podiatric medicine, entails? And then I want to talk about a couple challenges we face, but let's talk about the future first. What do you envision?
Oh, the future is incredibly bright. I wouldn't want my kids to go into it if I wasn't feeling great about it. I know it's popular in doctor lounges to talk about how bad your day was and how I don't get paid for this anymore, or so-and-so administrative tasks that I have to do now. And that's just part of the ball game. It kind of was that way when I came into the profession. It's not the old school of medicine where the doctors or surgeons are king of the hospital and you can just walk around and expect everything to be done for you. You got to work for it. You got to make it happen. You got to have some business sense. You got to have some admin IQ and know how to work with people and build a team. But man, look at where we're at now. This profession is such a gem and so spectacular, and we can make such a difference, yet still have that ability to welcome folks who want to work more limited hours or have a family, or welcome folks who want to go work 18-hour days at an academic hospital. You can do it all in this profession. And yeah, there's still some political barriers, and there's still some things that I have to take care of even in our own house with interspecialty turf battles. That's just medicine and that's just surgery. It's not just us. We always think it's just podiatry, but it's not just podiatry. Lots of other areas of the hospital have political challenges too. But man, it is a spectacular profession. I think the future is incredibly bright, and I enjoy it every day. I try to practice by the 80-20 rule of I check in with myself usually throughout the day. Am I enjoying what I'm doing at this moment right now? And I'm consistently above the 80% of I enjoy what I'm doing at this moment right now. There's going to be 15, 20% that, yep, okay, sorry, you got to do that to get across the finish line, and you may not enjoy that task. But I think podiatric medicine surgery gives me a greater than 80% thumbs up throughout the day.
I don't think there's any profession that gives you 100% enjoyment. There's always going to be some tasks at hand, right?
If they say it's 100, they're faking it. Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. So one of the challenges we're having in the profession is a student recruitment concern. And, maybe I think COVID had something to do with it, John, because prospective students didn't have an opportunity to shadow with doctors and really be enlightened about what the profession's about. But your thoughts on student recruitment, because I know, with this wonderful profession is readily available, and we need to get out there and we get the word out, get some branding exercises done on what podiatric medicine is and what a podiatric physician is. Your thoughts on student recruitment?
Yeah, we've been a little asleep at the wheel here. I think we all have been celebrating the successes of podiatric medicine and surgery and our growth and our great movement in residencies and schools and fellowships. And there's so much to celebrate. But we've been asleep at the wheel on student recruitment, and that takes constant vigilance. I turned on NPR this morning and I heard an announcement for PA and consider going into a PA career. It's like, we need massive marketing and visibility for this great profession, and we're not doing it. So we've got great people working on it. We're going to get there. We're going to make it happen. I'm very confident that between the grassroots efforts that I and you and everybody can do at their local areas, but then nationally, I think we've really woken up to the fact that, hey, this doesn't just happen by accident. Other careers and professions have to market themselves. We need to as well. We have a massive visibility issue, and when people see our profession, from my scribes that come to work with me in clinic, or from the undergrad student who comes to spend a half day with me, they all end up applying, and many of them go to podiatric medical school because they realize, wow, I didn't realize this was so amazing. But as you said, it's we've had limited exposure these last couple of years, and we will fix that, and we will get this applicant pool to where it needs to be, because it's an absolute crime that we're not having people beat down the doors of our profession, because it is. So it's never been a better time to be a DPM than now. It's just so the opportunities that are out there are so spectacular. So we'll fix it. It's take a little while to get the train going in the right direction, but we'll get there.
Well, I like the spirit of collaboration I'm hearing throughout the profession, and really it's an all hands on deck opportunity for us to be involved. So I agree with you, and it starts at the grassroots level and then goes all the way up to the national. So I'm in 100% agreement.
My daughter, Jeff, Emery is one of those who's considering a medical profession, and she starts at James Madison University. So we were with her on Admitted Students Day this past Friday in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And my wife and I and our daughter are proud and going to all these nice sessions they have for the university. And boy, I couldn't wait to go and grab the pre-professional health advisor director and speak with her afterwards, and said, hey, I've noticed that pre-podiatry is not listed on any of your slides, and I'm a podiatrist, and it's an amazing profession. And matter of fact, one of your graduates from James Madison University is going to be one of my incoming residents. And she knew who that was. And we talked about what a great profession it is. And she couldn't agree more. She knew a lot about podiatry, but she said, we don't see the awareness out there for it. So I said, hey, can I come on campus and give a talk? And can I bring Patrick, your former JMU student, and have him come give the talk? Let's you and I help some of your students see this great profession. And she was all for it and super excited. So we've emailed back and forth, and we'll make that happen. But those kind of little grassroots efforts need to happen everywhere. We all need to be doing that. But then again, we also do need to spend some serious national effort as our societies to get a national PR campaign too. So.
No, I'm with you. I've been doing the same thing. I've been traveling and when I make a meeting at a university, whether it's Montana State or a private school in Wisconsin, St. Norbert or Lawrence, when you talk to the advisors, they're not aware of podiatric medicine.
Nope.
And they're not, if you're not aware of something, you can't act upon it. So I think it's incumbent upon us to interface with them, get podiatric medicine on their slides, and then also find them a local doctor to shadow with, like a knee-jerk reaction. You're interested in podiatric medicine? I'm sending you over to see Dr. Steinberg. Something like that. That shadowing experience is so crucial, John.
So crucial. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. It's when they come visit, they apply.
Well said. And we have the same thing. And well, I'll tell you one more story. I was up in Montana, and I went to Montana State, and I met all the advisors, and they were just phenomenal. And then I was walking through the halls at the university, and admissions was giving a student a tour of our lab and things. And so I stopped over and I said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I asked him where he was from. And he says, "Oh, I'm from Montana State." I said, "Oh, I was just up there a couple months ago." He goes, "Oh yeah, I know Hillary and everybody." And so I came down to visit. So those visits can be very fruitful. Yep. But it's not the path of least resistance, right? It's not like water going downhill. You got to make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. Well said.
John, we could talk forever. I know that. But I was just wondering if there's any last words you'd like to say to prospective students or maybe even students as they're preparing for clerkships.
I love sitting down with the clerkship students on our first day. It's usually a Monday, and I'm usually at Georgetown. It's an OR day for me, so I'll usually catch them in the afternoon after they've gotten checked in with their badges. And we usually give them the rest of the Monday off once they've done their orientation so they can actually go and enjoy the city a bit before we start having them wake up at 4 a.m. But the advice I almost always give them is be greedy about your education. You don't have much time. I know, again, very cliche to talk about how fast the time goes by. That's a matter of just true world life experience. But be greedy about your education because there's so much out there that is available to you. And I even talk about, hey, as a student, there may be one day that starting maybe Thursday of this week, you're going to be working with the intern and it's going to be like, hey, could you help do these 10 negative pressure dressing changes on the floor of these patients? And you get this assignment and say, oh gosh, this is going to be boring and I'm just being used for labor and this is not fun. But you could take each one of those and turn them into a massive learning experience if you learn about why are they in negative pressure wound therapy and what was the surgery that they're going just finished with and what's their next surgery going to be, and pull aside their x-rays and say, hey, Dr. Steinberg, can we review this patient that I just saw upstairs and did the dressing change on, or go read an article about the amputation that was performed on that patient. So if you're greedy about it and you don't let those opportunities just slip by, then you will get a ton out of each day. Another is to read every single day. I'm not a huge reader by default either. We all do enough reading for work, and you kind of think that's not what you want to do at the end of the day. But boy, if you read for 10 or 15 minutes on that topic that you didn't answer right when I asked you the question in the OR, you will remember that forever, and you'll never have to learn it again. And then my final piece of advice for students in particular, but also residents, is ask for feedback. I will always give you feedback. I will always make time for your feedback. Maybe not at that moment, maybe not during that surgery case, but if you say, hey, could you talk about how I did today? Or could you give me some feedback on how that case went, or what you thought of my osteotomy, or how my presentation went at conference today? Anybody loves to give you feedback. Just ask for it. Don't be afraid to ask for it. Because a lot of folks are saying, oh, I never got any feedback. It's like, you never asked for it. So don't be afraid to ask for feedback.
I love that. Be greedy about your education. Sometimes I tell our students, I've got a 3% rule. If you work a 10-hour day, put in that extra 20 minutes and then go to Dr. Steinberg's office and say, is there anything else I can do for you? You never know. You might have just got a consult they can help you with. You've got to be greedy about it. And I've not heard that voiced exactly like you said it, but I love it. It's great.
Great.
Well, John, I want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your time, your expertise, your experience, and mostly all you do for our profession. We need more John Steinbergs in this field.
Same to you, Jeff. You've been a shining light with your work as a dean, and just really it shows in the product of the students that rotate here with us from your school. And just keep up the great work. I love this project, and together, let's continue to spread the word about this great profession. We got to make sure more people know about it.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again for joining us, John. And I look forward to catching up next week at the meeting.
Thanks, Jeff. See you there.
You bet. And I want to thank everybody for joining us on Dean's Chat today, where we talk about all things podiatric medicine. We'll continue to bring you the voices and leaders in the great podiatric profession, and we'll see you next week. In the meantime, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And John, by the way, we're going to send you one of these really cool Dean's Chat cups.
Wow, I didn't know there was a prize today. This is good. Did I win the prize?
No, it's a participation award, but sometimes you get those too,
Everybody gets a trophy. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks again. All right. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Thanks.